The dust hadn't even settled on the gravel road leading to my newly renovated ranch cabin when the trouble began. After years of city life, I'd finally decided to cash in on some peace and quiet, nestled in the foothills with 20 acres of solitude. It was my dream escape, a rustic but modernized cabin I'd spent months restoring with my own hands. I bought the property fair and square, and the only remaining hurdle had been the local HOA, known around here for its suffocating rules. And, more specifically, for being controlled by a woman the neighbors not so affectionately called HOA Karen. Asterisk Karen Whitmore, early 60s iron gray hair always pulled tight into a bun, and lips permanently pursed in disapproval, had lived in this area for nearly 2 decades. She made it her life's mission to protect the neighborhood's standards, which in practice meant policing every mailbox color, every driveway crack, and now, apparently, my cabin. Asterisk I first encountered Karen the day the moving truck arrived. She didn't introduce herself. She simply strode onto my property, clipboard in hand. Eyes narrowed like a hawk, scanning for violations. Asterisk, this structure isn't compliant, she said coldly, nodding at my cabin. You're going to have to demolish it. It's not in line with Article 4, Section C of the HOA guidelines. Asterisk, I raised an eyebrow, setting down a box of tools. I had the plans approved by the county, and this cabin's been standing here since 1957. All I did was restore it. Asterisk. She flipped a page on her clipboard. And yet no record of your renovations were submitted for HOA approval. Asterisk, I couldn't believe it. I wasn't even in the HOA when I started restoring it. The property wasn't under HOA jurisdiction until you expanded the zone 6 months ago after I started the work. Asterisk, rules are rules, she snapped. You have 2 weeks to comply. We'll be forced to take legal action, I suggest. You start packing. Asterisk, that was my welcome. But what she didn't know was that I'd already been in talks with several of the property owners about the HOAs. Leadership, or lack thereof. Most were fed up with Karen's micromanagement and bullying tactics. The community had grown tired of returning neighbor against neighbor over trivial matters, so when the HOA board elections were announced, I decided it was time for change. I quietly submitted my candidacy. Asterisk Karen didn't think much of it. In fact, she assumed she was running unopposed as usual. She spent most of the meeting congratulating herself for her service before they even got to the vote. When the ballots were counted and I was announced as the new president of the HOA, her mouth fell open like she'd been slapped with a shovel. Asterisk what? This is a joke, she hissed. You're not even qualified. You just moved here. Asterisk actually, I replied with a smile. I've owned the land longer than most of the people in this room. According to the bylaws, any property owner in good standing can be elected. That includes me. Asterisk, she stormed out before the meeting ended. And that, I thought, would be the end of it. I was wrong. Asterisk, 2 days later, while I was stacking firewood behind the cabin, I heard sirens. Then the unmistakable crunch of tires on my gravel driveway. Its county deputies pulled up, followed by a city building inspector. I knew instantly who was behind this. Asterisk, one of the deputies, stepped out and approached. Sir, we received a report of an unauthorized structure on this property, possible code violations. Asterisk, I looked past him to see Karen parked at the end of the road, arms folded, watching with smug satisfaction. Asterisk, you're kidding, I said, incredulous. This again?
Asterisk.
Building inspector motioned for me to walk him around. I complied, showing him the original building permits. The historical status of the cabin, the restoration photos, even the signed approvals from the previous county assessor. After 40 minutes of inspection and paperwork, he looked at the officers and said, "Everything's in order. No violations here." Asterisk Karen's face from where I stood turned beet red, but she wasn't done, not by a long shot. Asterisk, over the next 2 weeks, I received a barrage of violation notices from the HOA, all signed by Karen. Alleged infractions included improper fence post height, non-compliant window tint, and even overly rustic landscaping. At one point, she cited me for having a birdhouse that did not conform to neighborhood aesthetics. Asterisk, I realized then this wasn't about rules. It was personal. She was trying to harass me out of my own home. Asterisk, but as HOA president, I now had the power to do more than just defend myself. I began a full audit of the HOA's practices, finances, and leadership structure. What I found was shocking. Years of questionable fines, inconsistent enforcement, and in some cases, outright misuse of funds. Asterisk, at the next HOA meeting, I presented everything. I explained how the rules were being used as a weapon against property owners. I proposed changes, real ones, to restore fairness, transparency, and basic neighborly respect. The board voted unanimously to approve the reforms. Karen was officially stripped of her enforcement privileges, but I wasn't done. Remember the birdhouse? Had it repainted bright pink and mounted 10 feet high on a post right on the edge of my property, where she could see it from her kitchen window. The community loved it. Some even started building their own quirky birdhouses in solidarity. Asterisk. Karen tried one final stunt, filing an anonymous complaint with the county alleging my septic system was contaminating local groundwater. The county tested it. Clean. Again. No violation. But this time, the county officials warned her about filing frivolous claims. Asterisk in the end. Karen stopped showing up to meetings. She sold her house and moved away 3 months later. Rumor has it she's trying to join another HOA out in Arizona. Good luck to them. Asterisk, as for me, I'm still in my cabin, watching sunsets from my porch swing, dogs by my side, coffee in hand. The community is thriving now, fewer rules, more cooperation. In my birdhouse, still pink, still standing tall. Asterisk, turns out the best way to deal with an HOA bully is to become the boss. Asterisk can never let anyone, especially not a clipboard wielding Karen, tell you what your home should be. Asterisk.